All I want to do is complain right now, but I don't want to put that out into the ethers. Super mini update before we start. This video is coming kind of late, and I'll talk more about that when we get to the point of the video. But I am thinking that I will be changing the structure, and perhaps every other week we do exploration, and then in between something artistic. I'd like to hold myself accountable to creating art just like I'm holding myself accountable to doing this. Camera died, ran out of space, so now it looks a little different. Big whoop. What was the last thing I was saying? Oh, I cut my hair. Anyway, today we're talking about something so universal you don't even know it's there. It's called the fear of death. The fear of death is what Thich, how do you say his name? Thich Nhat Hanh. It's an incredible monk who writes beautiful books on all the different human emotions. I recently read the one called Fear, and he talks about this concept of original fear, which is the first time you left the womb and realized you had to be dependent on something else because if not, you would die. So it starts in that most primal place. As you get older, it follows you in these other places and in the other ways that adults deal with survival. It becomes less about, oh, I need to eat, or oh, I need to take a crap. Instead, it becomes about, I don't want that person to be angry at me, or if this interview goes really badly, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We are animals, but we're not like our other animals where it's like a fight to the death all the time, literally. Our fight to the death is more mental and social and emotional. Anything you're afraid of, anything that makes you anxious, anything that makes you uncomfortable, all comes back to the fear of death. Part of why this video didn't come out when it was supposed to is the fear of death. Now let me explain that. I like to have everything prepared. I like to have everything perfect. Also, like to know what I'm talking about more than anything, because I'm trying to drop the perfection thing, especially with this video. I mean, come on, I'm sitting in front of my bed. My fear was that if I did just sit here and talk about whatever was on my mind without really giving it some thought beforehand, or reading about something beforehand so that I could back it up, that I would be judged. Boil down the fear of judgment to its essence, boom, original fear, fear of death. It's right there. If you really start to like keep an eye out for it, you'll see, oh, this is just my fear of death. What is exciting is when you can get over your fear of death, because you're not literally going to die. You think you are because you think, oh, well, if they don't like me, then I'm not gonna have any friends, and then I'm gonna be alone and I'm gonna die alone. But it's not literally going to kill you. You're just afraid of dying alone. Unless you go back, it really feels as serious as death. If you can go, okay, well, if I wasn't afraid of death, and if I wasn't afraid, if I was approaching this with the love of life and seeing what kind of life can come out of this, situations can go in ways that you never dreamed of before. So here's my prime example, not of social fear of death, but the literal fear of death and transforming the way you're thinking. 2 years ago, my grandma died. I was not really friends with her most of my life. In fact, I was kind of scared of her. So fear of death right there. I was afraid of her judgment. I had these massive spiritual breakthroughs from a seminar that I took part in. I realized I have to clean this up. It was like AA for my ego. I couldn't carry around resentments or fears or anything that felt incomplete with people. So I called her and I told her straight up, like, this is why I've never been your friend. It has nothing to do with you. I'm taking full responsibility for the fact that we don't have a relationship. And it's just because I feared your judgment because I was insecure. I'd like to be your friend now. It was a really, really vulnerable, wonderful conversation. She ended it with saying, I look forward to our new friendship. Then I'm human and I felt peace with her, but I didn't feel like I had to like contact her really. A few months later, my parents called me and told me that she was sick and probably had just like a few weeks to live. And I was like, oh, well, great. Tons of regret, tons of fear of her dying because I didn't do what I said I would do. We're not friends. All of these ideas in my head about how it was gonna go at the funeral and how sad it was gonna be, and it's so tragic, and it was gonna be like all of the other funerals I've ever been to. I just didn't know what to do except the usual, which is what everyone does, which is just like mourn and treat it like it's the worst thing that's happening. My boyfriend said to me, well, you can be your friend now. And then he also said, and here's the real kicker, he said, what if you are happy for her? What if you celebrate her dying? That's just not what we do as a society. There's like, yeah. I mean, I thought he was crazy, but I was willing. I had already been in the process of releasing my pain, so I was like, okay, great. I will try that. I mean, what have I got to lose? This lady's gonna die in like 2 weeks. I started calling her and sending her pictures. It was very, very sweet and nice. I started thinking about it like, oh, what a cool adventure. She's gonna die. That's an exciting journey. She's gonna transition to something new. She's only going away as we know her in this form, but her essence will still remain, whether it's literally remaining or it remains through us remembering her. She's not really going to die. She's just gonna turn into something else. A few days went by after like a week of doing that. She kind of lost the ability to speak, and a few days after that she couldn't really speak at all. Assumed that like she was gonna die that night or the next morning, so I called her. She couldn't say anything, but I told her, I am so happy for you and I'm excited for you, and I think this is gonna be the best adventure of your life. Like, I literally said these words. I couldn't believe it, but I really felt like I had nothing to lose, and like no one else was going to say these things to her, because who thought of this? I remember hearing like this little like whimper of like pleasure. It sounded like a happy little whimper, like she liked the idea of it being an adventure. The final thing I remember saying to her besides I love you was, I am looking forward to our new friendship, our spiritual friendship, which was so cool. It really came like full circle. When I was at the funeral and the wake, like there was a little bit of sadness, but overall, like I really felt the most peaceful and happy I had felt probably ever. I just couldn't believe that I could accept death this much and embrace it this much. And I ended up having like a great time because I was in this like open, loving place. I was able to speak to family members who I hadn't spoken to since I was like a little kid, and like really speak to them as an adult and even comfort them and bring them into the space of like, hey, it's okay that this is happening. I felt like anyone who was in my sphere became peaceful, and it was really beautiful, and I made so many wonderful connections with people in my family, and like I still have those connections now, and I wouldn't have had those connections if I was in the this is tragic mindset. Ever since then, you know, like I don't fear death in my family. I would obviously love it if everyone could just like live forever. I want to live forever, but in a way I will. Not as Chelsea, but as life. Life is all I am, and life will continue no matter what. That's something to try on. I mean, if you can transform your fear of death, honestly, you can transform anything, because it's our biggest fear by far. If you can make that switch about literal death, switching fear of social death is a breeze. I just wanted to share all of that, and those are just things for you to ponder over and consider. I mean, where are you holding yourself back because you're afraid of people's opinions? If you are genuinely afraid of like literal death, I swear to you, if you try on that perspective, you'll be shocked by the peace you get. That's all. Thanks for watching, and I will either have another exploration video later this week, or we will have an artistic video and then an exploration one the week after. I'm like halfway through my final dream book, so we'll get back on that soon. And thanks for being devoted to this and to your own personal transformation. Bye.